One of the deepest questions in the Mahabharata is also one of the most uncomfortable. If Dharma is so important and karma is always working, then why do good people still suffer, why do unjust people seem to rise, and why does wisdom so often arrive only after ruin? The epic does not answer this with slogans. It answers by making great people live through unbearable consequences. People often use dharma and karma as if they mean the same thing, but the Mahabharata treats them differently. Dharma asks what is right to do in a difficult moment. Karma reveals what choices create over time. One guides action. The other governs consequence. Confusing them leads to false expectations, especially when life refuses to reward the right decision immediately. That is why this story feels so modern. You can do what is right and still pay a price. You can ignore warnings and still enjoy temporary success. You can speak truth, like Vijaya, and still be outnumbered by power. The Mahabharata is not trying to flatter us with a simple moral machine. It is teaching us how justice, duty, and consequence actually collide in human history. So this episode follows one sharp argument from beginning to end. Dharma is about the action you owe in the present. Karma is about the chain your actions create. When you separate those two clearly, the Mahabharata stops looking contradictory and starts looking devastatingly honest about how human beings become trapped, tested, and transformed. Dharma in the Mahabharata is not a neat list of rules. It is the difficult demand of right action within a specific relationship, role, and crisis. A king, an elder, a brother, a warrior, and a counselor may all face the same event and still have different duties. That is why Dharma is powerful, but also why it is dangerous to reduce it to mechanical obedience. Think about Bhishma and Vijaya. Both understand that the kingdom is drifting toward catastrophe, yet they respond differently. Bhishma stays bound to the throne and the weight of his vow. Vijaya keeps speaking against corruption even when no one wants to hear him. The epic does not flatten this into easy heroes and villains. It shows that Dharma can be seen clearly and still be lived imperfectly. Draupadi's question in the dice hall exposes this perfectly. Everyone knows something is wrong, but the court hesitates because duty has been confused with procedure. Dharma is not preserved by hiding behind custom when a human being is being humiliated in front of you. In that moment, the Mahabharata shows that true Dharma may require interruption, courage, and refusal, not passive correctness. So Dharma is not a promise that the right action will feel safe, or look elegant, or protect your reputation. Dharma is what you still owe when confusion is greatest. That is why people fail it so often. It demands clarity under pressure, restraint under anger, and courage when silence would be more comfortable. The epic honors Dharma precisely because it is hard. Karma in the Mahabharata is not a vending machine where every act produces an immediate visible payment. Karma is consequence ripening through time. It shapes habits, relationships, political conditions, and inner character. Duryodhana does not become destructive in a single day. His envy is fed, protected, and repeated until it becomes the engine of a civilizational disaster. Karna shows the same principle in a more painful way. He suffers injustice, carries deep humiliation, and wins genuine sympathy, but that does not erase the consequences of the side he keeps strengthening. Karma does not ask only what happened to you. It asks what you chose next, what loyalties you empowered, and what kind of person your repeated choices turned you into. That is why karma in this epic is so unsettling. One choice can spill into many lives. A moment of weakness in the dice hall becomes exile, humiliation, rage, oath, and eventually war. Karma is not always private. It becomes social. It travels through families, kingdoms, and generations. The Mahabharata insists that consequence does not stay politely inside the person who first caused it. So karma is not the same as fate, and it is not the same as instant justice. It is the patterned unfolding of what actions plant. Some seeds ripen quickly. Others ripen late. Some consequences arrive inside the mind as restlessness or clarity. Others arrive outside through events. The delay is exactly what makes karma hard to read, and what makes moral laziness so tempting. This is where the distinction becomes sharp. Yudhishthira's earlier weakness creates terrible karma, but once the disaster unfolds, he still has fresh duties inside it. Regret does not cancel responsibility. A bad choice yesterday does not remove the need for right action today. The Mahabharata never allows moral seriousness to hide behind guilt, because Dharma must still be chosen inside damaged conditions. Arjuna's crisis before Kurukshetra is another perfect example. The karmic chain that led to war is already in motion. He did not create it alone, and he cannot erase it by collapsing in that moment. His question is therefore a Dharma question, not a karma question. Given the reality now standing in front of him, what action is right, what motive is pure, and what refusal would actually become avoidance? Krishna's answer is not, do the right thing because the reward will come instantly. His answer is deeper. Act according to Dharma without attachment to the fruit. In other words, let duty govern your action even when karma remains larger than your control. That is one of the boldest teachings in the whole epic. Moral clarity is required even when outcome remains uncertain. So when Dharma and karma pull apart, the Mahabharata does not tell you to wait for perfect conditions. It tells you to act rightly within imperfect conditions. Karma may explain why the field is difficult. Dharma tells you how to stand on that field without becoming smaller than the crisis. That is the difference between suffering consequences and surrendering your character to them. The hardest part of karma is delay. Duryodhana seems to win for a long time. The Pandavas lose home, dignity, and security. Draupadi's humiliation is not instantly avenged. If you expect morality to operate like an immediate scoreboard, this part of the Mahabharata feels unbearable. But that unbearable feeling is exactly the point. Consequence often matures more slowly than ambition. Adharma can create temporary strength because it often uses methods Dharma refuses. Manipulation is faster than patience. Humiliation is louder than restraint. Greed can look decisive. That is why wickedness can dominate a season. But the Mahabharata keeps showing the hidden cost. Adharma weakens judgment, isolates allies, hardens ego, and makes correction less likely with every apparent success. So karma does not fail when the wicked rise. It may already be working inside the rise itself. Every repeated insult, every ignored warning, every victory gained by corruption deepens the future fall. Duryodhana's outward success is also his inner imprisonment. He becomes less capable of change with each triumph. That is karma too, even before the battlefield finally exposes it. And the righteous do not escape pain simply because they are righteous. Their dharma may require endurance, restraint, preparation, and long memory before justice becomes visible. That is why the epic is so demanding. It refuses both cynicism and fantasy. It says the wicked may rise for a while, the worthy may suffer for a while, and character is proven by what each side becomes during that delay. So what is the simplest way to hold this teaching? Dharma is the right action you owe now. Karma is the consequence that action joins and creates. Dharma governs your responsibility. Karma governs the ripening field of result. If you confuse the two, you will either become impatient with justice or careless with duty. The Mahabharata wants neither weakness. That is why the epic keeps returning to people who saw clearly but acted differently. Vijaya warns. Draupadi challenges. Bhishma hesitates. Yudhishthira regrets. Arjuna learns. Duryodhana hardens. Every one of them helps us see that karma is not only what happens to a person. It is also what repeated action makes of a person long before the final outcome arrives. The final lesson is demanding but liberating. You may not control how quickly consequence ripens, but you do control whether your next action strengthens clarity or confusion, courage or avoidance, truth or ego. That is why Dharma matters so much. It is the way human beings stop becoming servants of their worst momentum, even when the field around them is already burning. That is why Dharma and karma must be understood together, but never confused. One tells you what to do. The other reveals what doing creates. If this episode helped you see the Mahabharata more deeply, like this video, subscribe to EkalavyaLearn, and turn on the bell icon so you receive the next story on time. The next question in this chain is just as sharp: why Vijaya kept speaking truth to power when almost everyone else chose silence?